everybody, we're back.
Who would know the roles of the CIA, FBI, and other agencies in America, then create an event that could fly between those roles and responsibilities to plot the events of the day, Tuesday, September the 11th, 2001. How did your day start that day, Scott?
I was in a bad mood.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in a really bad mood. Something happened at the bank with a transaction, and I had learned about these attacks. I was not, by the time I got to the bank, I found myself yelling at a bank teller. And I thought, that is just not me. There was something that permeated the air that day.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
It was a negativity that you just took on, and it was horrible. I was embarrassed and shameful of myself after that, and then after that, it didn't seem to go any better. But one thing I did do, though, is for the whole 9/11 episode, is I did believe the official story. I did find myself glued to none other than CNN.
Mm-hmm.
And listening and watching everything they...
Myself, I was working at Home Depot when they'd done their first attempt at pulling a night shift together to get the store restocked. People coming in the morning to open the store came with the news that something had happened. At the time, I was living in a place, and my landlord was with the Surrey RCMP and stationed at Vancouver International Airport. There was a communication problem with a Korean Airlines flight. That eventually got worked out. Plane came into land, but they had scrambled a jet fighter. What were they using back then? Was it an F-18?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So that was actually circling the airport, and it had brought the plane in with orders that if they deviated off the given flight plan, the understood flight plan, they had orders to shoot it down.
Interesting.
My landlord said that the plane was circling the airport, and once the plane taxied in, pilot up in the air was given the okay, mission accomplished, then it was time to go. He just said that thing just went bang straight up into the sky. Everybody looked up and the thing was gone. And just the power coming off of that thing at the time, when he told me the story, it was just like, boy, are they gonna get it now. That was just one plane. Like, everybody's coming over to wherever they're gonna start the battle and get them. And like yourself, I too, was very much into the official story.
Yeah, I listened to it for the first almost a year.
Yeah, I was working at nights. Somebody had set up a TV. It was on all the time.
Yeah.
24/7. TV was on in the staff room at Home Depot. In fact, I even watched Building 7 come down, and we'd take our lunch around 3 a.m. And so everybody was just like out of it. And I remember staring bleary-eyed at this screen, and all of a sudden to the right I saw this building pancake. I remember yelling at the rest of the room, "Hey, did you see that?" They had no idea what I was talking about. They'd missed it. And it wasn't until later the mystery of Building 7 started to become known.
An interesting thing I think about that is it ended the career of Dan Rather, the old-time famous newscaster, annunciator. For decades, he was the standard of news, it seemed, and he made the comment that Building 7 fall, he said, quote unquote, a perfect controlled demolition. Apparently those were the wrong words to say, because Mr. Bush at the time thought that those were the wrong words to say, and he fired him.
Wow.
How the first words that come out might be the truth. And so here we are, We're going on to 17 years after really nothing's changed.
No, the official version is that the heat of the fuel melted the beams of the building.
It's impossible.
Yeah, we'll have to check, but then the group Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth came about, and this is a scientifically impossible scenario.
It takes, to this day, when we make structural steel, we need coal. It's the only way to do it. You have to heat up the coal. It takes, I think it's 3,500 degrees, something like that. We'll get the numbers. You're not going to burn steel. You're not going to melt it. It's not going to turn into ash. The only way to take a building down, I think, is to systematically wire the building with charges and synchronize floor by floor explosions that cut through the steel. And each building in 9/11 had 44 columns of this tremendously huge I-beam, which doesn't bend very easily. In the old days, they actually used to cut it at 45-degree angle, 3/4 of the way through, and then go down to the next floor and do the same thing. And where they cut the steel, they'd have to put a charge behind it, so that when they want to do the job, they synchronize the charges. The fact that the beams are cut in 45-degree angles would ensure that the beams collapse beside each other.
Yeah.
That way, the building will collapse.
Free fall was the
free
expression
fall.
I heard.
Free fall, collapse. There are photographs that show, taking in mind that they cleared the wreckage of 9/11 in record time. They literally started the day after.
They didn't want any forensic evidence laying around.
No, we don't need that.
No.
We don't need that.
Get rid of that.
But the photos that were taken, there were a few smart people that were, breaking through the security and taking pictures, and you will see structured steel cut in 45-degree angles. Okay, the question is, we don't know what did it. Let's dig some of those pictures up and post them if we can.
Well, what has come up is compound known as thermate was used, cut through those steel beams.
Yes.
And the video I've seen is somebody pouring something of like the equivalent of a cup on the hood of a car, and that's like instantly gone through the engine block and hit the ground and kept going down.
It's like butter. It melts. It's like the steel turns into butter, and it just disappears. It's incredible. But, we're supposed to believe that didn't happen. It all happened because of the jet plane and the fuel, and it just, we let Mother Nature take care of the rest, right?
Funny you should use those words, Mother Nature. The nature of this is why we're talking about this.
That's true.
After 17 years, because it defies the laws of science, which is a natural occurrence here on the planet that we're on, planet Earth. It just lends itself to the fact that you just can't let this go. It has to be investigated. People have to keep talking about it because...
Well, another question is why did they invent building demolition? Why didn't they do that? If buildings fall so easily, didn't they just have to blow them up, or hell, just drive an airplane into them, take them down?
Well, that was designed so that if an airplane did hit it, then it wouldn't...
It was designed exactly to those standards.
Yeah.
It was designed to withstand the impact of a 707, which was the largest airliner of the day. Still a very significant aircraft, even on today's standards. So here we are talking about 9/11 again, and there's a lot of new information out there.
You may roll your eyes at this point and go, oh, not that again. We don't ever clear this up. That just gives them permission.
This is the last chance. This is the last.
Yeah.
This is the last kick of the can. If it weren't for the Trump, and we'll talk about Trump and his attitude towards 9/11, why that is significant. Why don't we go into that? And this is why it's coming up again. This is why it's in the forefront.
If we don't talk about this and bring it to justice, then what are they going to do next? And try and tell us, oh, it just happened.
Yeah.
So
it's organic.
yeah,
Organic. I like that word.
you know, as somebody who knew life before 9/11, I mean, it's not the most terrible thing that happened. Like World Wars I and II killed a lot more lives, but still under an agenda of those that just want to see life keep going their way.
It changed after that.
Yeah,
And these events change your life. They change society. And 9/11 changed us as well.
You know, and there's two distinct groups. Those who have humanity within them and those who don't. And this is a very real thing. The creators of 9/11 do not have humanity within their soul.
Yeah, they were lacking in that department, weren't they?
Yeah, and that's just not a derogatory comment, but that is how that happened. Those that are willing to compromise their purpose of being on this earth so that they can get to a temporary level of pay grade, status,
Financial status.
financial status.
Yeah.
You know,
People made money, I think, in 9/11.
Yeah, we all have a role in society. Quite frankly, Scott and myself have been on the fringe of that, the hard going of day-to-day routine, making money.
Being an opposition to 9/11 is a jeopardizes your chance to be socially acceptable.
Yeah.
And that includes your employment.
So we all have a place in this world. Like, for example, you may think it's just a cute Christmas movie, but there's that one that comes out every year, Jimmy Stewart, It's a Wonderful Life. So if you want to live a life where you go, hey, I wish I'd never been born, then 9/11 is a scenario that can play out if
in that direction.
Yeah, you know, if you don't step up to say, what is my part in this?
Well, and if your role is to do nothing and just accept and just forget, then you're playing into the hands of the people that perpetrated.
Hey, they love it when you go, well, isn't that just a conspiracy theory? You know, I can't help but feel like, what are the origins of that statement?
Shut up and don't do any research on your own, and please only listen to your local radio station or your TV station, may that be CNN, and you don't need to go beyond that. You have to trust. It's another word for saying blindly trust us. Don't think, don't do your research.
And do as you're told.
Do as you're told. And if that's okay with you, then you're part of the problem.
Yeah, and this show isn't for you.
Yeah, turn the channel. You're not going to want to hear this.
Yeah, we're not interested. Like I said before, not only in England, but here now, it's time for you to decide whose side you're going to be on. Because whether you stay silent or whether you speak up now, you will be recognized.
Yeah.
Before this is over. It's up to you.
Let's go into our, part of the thing is there's new information out on 9/11 that's provoking all this, and a lot of this came from QAnon.
Okay.
And let's maybe go and hit on a few of these points